what that, I feel like what that reflects is the other part of the journey where it's not just working on the things that we want to change, but also working on the self-compassion and the self-love and the self-acceptance. So those are, every time that you have these, the criticism and the feelings like this isn't, and I know exactly what you're feeling because I felt this, I felt it too. And what works best for that is giving yourself patience, giving yourself grace, giving yourself room to learn, understanding, looking back on how far you've come, really reflecting on that, appreciating all the work you've put into it, all of the heart you've put into it, all of the soul you've put into it, and the intention that you have. All of what you are doing is noble and honorable. So even if you're feeling like you're falling short, the fact that you're intending with so much of your life and so much of your energy to heal and to improve and to be a better person, these are all lovable things. So the fact that you are trying to improve is lovable. And it's something that we don't often see whenever we're instead looking at, I didn't do this right, I didn't do this right. You know, if you take a step back further, I guess I would then suggest focusing on the slightly different part of what's happening, in that there's also room there to appreciate the amount of effort and the amount of heart and soul you're putting into it. And by then appreciating yourself and feeling that love and that acceptance for, okay, and practicing that patience with yourself, you're then infusing that experience with some positive emotion. There's another part of this too. The way that we criticize ourselves is often how we've been criticized. So another way of looking at this is that critical voice yours? And this isn't, you know, another way of saying this, whenever you want to know how someone has been treated, look at how they treat other people. You know, if you see someone and they like the words they use, if you see someone attack someone else on social media or in real life, and they use a certain type of put down or a certain type of wording to put someone down, those words are what they themselves have heard from someone. So for example, if I were to see someone and call them, you're just a loser, you're never going to be anything in your life, those words would never come to my mind if I hadn't heard them myself. That means I was called a loser. I was called a failure. Or I heard that from someone implicitly in their words to me, and I accepted that as true. So this is another reason why whenever you see someone attacking someone else on social media or anywhere, and you look at the words that they use, it's always a chance to be very compassionate, because, for instance, our parents heard those words from someone else. They didn't come up with this. They received someone else's trauma too. And then it's passed down, and then we, you know, integrate these types of thoughts into our life to where we don't question them anymore. But I don't know where the ultimate source of all these thoughts is, but most likely the content of that criticism is not yours. So that's another opportunity to sort of detach yourself from the weight of it. And even if you're just writing down, these are the thoughts I'm having about myself, and then, you know, you sort of breathe through it, you calm down, you appreciate yourself, and then you return to the comments that you wrote down later on, and you're like, where did this come from? Whose is this? Because this isn't mine. And whenever you do that, you'll notice the thoughts may still come up, but you'll start to doubt them. And that's one of the things I don't totally understand it, but it's almost like there's a recording, like a thought loop tape, where some of the same critical voices will come up again and again and again, but they aren't yours. It's almost like a recording. But whenever you realize in the moment that those aren't me, they didn't come from me, those came from someone else, that gives you a bit of emotional space from them, and they don't feel as real anymore. They don't feel as hurtful anymore. So that's something to explore a bit. Like I seriously doubt that those, whatever thoughts those are really yours. I don't think they're true, because if you look at all the effort that you're doing, all the heart that you're putting into it, it doesn't match up. So even from a rational perspective, it doesn't make sense. So that self-criticism, that self-critic is inherently irrational. It's really stubborn and it's hard to get rid of, but it's not a rational voice. It's an emotional voice with an emotional origin, and it usually comes from someone else.